Hey friends, welcome to this week's prayer practice with the Lord's Prayer. Today, I'm excited to share with you one of the other prayer practices of Martin Luther found in this book, A Simple Way to Pray. Very short book. I highly recommend it. But it's one of the practices that he shared with his barber. And if you look at the other videos in this series, you will find a garland of 4 strands, which is also one of the prayer practices talked about here in this book. And the one I wanted to share with you today is what's known as expounding prayer. And like many of the other prayer types that we've been talking about, this is meant to be a creative space for us to be in God's presence, to both listen and to speak with God. So many of the prayer practices have a sort of outline that we follow that then allows us to go many different directions. And this one sort of starts with the many different directions side of it. And that in expounding prayer, we simply take one word or one line, a sentence, a couple lines, and simply go deeper with it, spending time with it, mulling it over, chewing on it. And so with something like the Lord's Prayer, like many different prayer types, it can be done in many different ways. You can go line by line through the Lord's Prayer, expounding on each line, or you can sort of just get quote unquote stuck with one line and not even feel like you need to finish the rest of the Lord's Prayer. But the idea here is that rather than just going right through the prayer, Our Father in heaven, holy be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done, rather than just going through it, we stop and we really sit with each line, exploring it deeper. So in this sense, it's also sort of like the intercessory prayer we did, where we prayed a line of the Lord's Prayer over ourselves, a loved one, a stranger, and even an enemy. In this one, it's sort of like a meditation. We take one line. So for example, give us this day our daily bread. We take that one line and we really expound upon it. We don't go to the next line of the Lord's Prayer. We sit with it and we consider, what is this line saying? So we listen. And this is great to do with a journal, by the way, so that you can sort of get the things out of our mind, right, onto a page, really sort of slow down. But you prayerfully consider, what is the line saying? And then mull over, what is coming up for me? Is it a prayer for myself? Is it a prayer for someone else? Is it an invitation from God to go and do something? It's essentially just taking time to expound upon the line, to unpack it, to let it unfold in our spirit, in our mind, maybe even through our body, on the page, in art, whatever it may be. This is a prayer form where we just explore it. Like the whole world that you enter into, if you go to a new place, a new city, and you just sort of walk around, notice different things, people watch, engage the colors, notice the weather, take in the smells, take in all the feels, right? You sort of just exist in it. That's what we do in expounding prayer. We take these lines and we just exist in them for a while. And so this is a great practice that can be open-ended. You can just say, hey, I'm just going to pray this as long as I feel like I'm in the prayer. But it can also be helpful to sort of set an alarm and say, hey, you know what? For 20 minutes, or even just for 10 minutes, for 5 minutes. I don't know if 5 minutes is quite enough for this type of prayer practice, but maybe you say 10 minutes. I'm going to start with one line of the Lord's Prayer. I'm going to pray it, and I'm just going to exist in it. I'm going to see what comes up, what I feel led to say, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling, maybe a teaching that God is bringing up, a challenge or an encouragement, and then I'm going to go on to the next line. And you can sort of work your way through the whole prayer over those 10 minutes or over those 20 minutes. Or, and I believe Luther talks about this at one point, you can also get stuck on one line and not even finish the prayer. Maybe the line on forgiveness or on God's kingdom really hits you today, and you just want to explore that. This is a creative space just to be with God. And as distractions or other thoughts come in, you just return back to that line. It's almost like if you were walking through the city and all of a sudden you find yourself leaving the city. It's like, oh, let me turn around and just come back. That's the line. You just return to the line and just be with it. Notice what you feel. Notice what is coming up. And so this video is a little different from the others in that I'm not going to necessarily make a space for you to practice this right now, but I do encourage you, as soon as this video is done, set an alarm for 10 minutes and just take the Lord's Prayer, open your Bible, have the words right there if you need them, and just find a line that sticks out to you that you can expand upon, that you can just exist in. Or perhaps spend just a little bit of time with each line. I love expounding prayer because, again, it's one of these prayer practices that gives us a focus, it gives us a direction, but within that direction, within that focus, within that line or that word are infinite possibilities of directions that you could go. And it gives us that focus, that way to come back if we feel like our mind has wandered away from the time of prayer. So friends, try out expounding prayer, try it with the Lord's Prayer, try it with other scriptures, other prayers. Would love to know what comes up for you in the comments below. And of course, if you're finding these practices helpful, we'd love if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel to connect with everything else that we have going on here. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those as well. You can also find my email in the description below. Reach out with what came up for you in today's practice if you have a question. We love engaging with all of you in this space. So thanks for being here today, friends. Until next time, grace and peace be with you.